In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up Jethro on an Amazon AWS instance. For this, we will need to launch an AWS instance. We will use a spot request because it's much cheaper than a regular instance. So we will choose request spot instance from here. Then we go to the community AMIs and we type Jethro, and then we click enter, and it will show us that it found the AMI named Jethro query node, which is the one that we want. So we will hit select. The next thing we need to do is to choose the instance type. We recommend using the R3 instances, so we can choose between R3 extra large, 2 extra large, 4 extra large, and 8 extra large. For this video, we will use the R3 4 extra large, so we will choose that here. This one has 128 gigs of RAM, 16 cores, and one extra disk of 320 gigs, which we're going to use for our storage. So then we can hit next to configure the instance details. We will choose the maximum price for the instance. Let's put $10 here. We can also choose the network, the availability zone, or we can just get the defaults. Now we're going to add storage. This has a root directory of 128 gigs, but we will make sure that also the ephemeral disk of 320 gigs is attached. We can see it here. So we'll go ahead and click on tag spot request. Now we'll give it a tag. Let's call it Jethro query node, QN. And then we'll configure the security group. For the security group, we need to make sure that we can SSH into the machine, but also connect to it using port 9111. I already have an existing group which is called Jethro server, and this one is configured to allow SSH, but also the port range of 9111 and 9120. This is in order to allow more than one instance, Jethro instance, on the machine. So we're going to review our instance next. Make sure that we use the AMI that we wanted, the instance type with all its memory, CPU, and storage, security group. Here are the rules, and then we can click launch to launch the instance. We need to choose our key pair that we can use to log in and to acknowledge, and then we click on request spot instance, and now the instance is being processed. Let's go to view our spot requests and find our instance. Here it is. We can see that it's still pending evaluation. Once our instance is fulfilled, we can go to it by clicking here on the instance ID. Then we can see that it's running. We can give it a name. Let's call it Jethro query node. Now we can actually connect to the instance. For that, we'll need the public IP of the instance. So we're going to copy it from here. And then we're going to open a PATI session. We're going to provide the IP. And in the authorization, we're going to find our key pair and provide it, the private key. Then we're going to start our session. The username we're going to use is EC2 user, and now we're logged into the machine. The first thing we're going to do after logging into the machine is to make sure that we have the ephemeral drive ready for us to be used. So for this, we're going to move to cd to the scripts directory, which is right under the EC2 user home directory, and there are several scripts here that you can see them there. One of them is called mount volumes. We're going to run it, and what it's going to do, it's going to create a volume out of the ephemeral disk. So now it's going to build a file system and also to mount it to the directory Jethro. Now this directory is going to be used for our storage. Now it's important to note that this instance already have Jethro installed on it, so you're basically set to go. Now, after we finish setting up the volumes, we can run df-h to make sure that we have the directory ready. And as you can see, there is a volume attached to or mounted to /Jethro, and it is 300. It has 280 gigs available. Now, this is the one we're going to use for our storage. In this script directory, we also have the upgrade Jethro script, and we'll use it next to upgrade to the latest Jethro version. This will download the latest Jethro version and install it. Now we're all set, and we can continue to start working with Jethro. So now we're going to log in as user Jethro. We're going to use Jethro as the password as well. And now we're going to create a Jethro instance. Before you can load data into Jethro, you need to create an instance. So we're going to use the Jethro admin to create an instance. Before that, let me show you that we have a directory called a directory structure under Jethro. So we have both instances and cache directories, and we're going to use this for the storage and for the cache. Now we're going to create an instance. So we're going to use the Jethro admin command and create instance. We're going to give it a name. Let's call it demo. Now we're going to provide the storage path. In our case, it's going to be /Jethro/instances, and also the cache path, which is going to be Jethro/cache. We also going to specify a cache size. In this case, we're going to specify a size of 0 GB because we are actually going to use local storage, so we don't really need cache. And we're going to tell Jethro that we're going to use local storage by specifying storage type to be POSIX. Now we run this, and now we can see that the instance was created successfully. Now we can start the Jethro server by running service Jethro start. This will start both the Jethro server and the Jethro main, which is the maintenance process. And now we can connect to the Jethro client and run SQL commands. So we're going to connect Jethro client. Demo is our instance. It's going to listen to localhost on port 29111, and we're going to specify the Jethro user password, which is Jethro. And now we can run queries like show tables, for example. In this case, we don't have any tables, but at least we can see that we can connect to our instance. Next, let's create a sample table. I created a DLL file for a customer table. Let's look at it. We create a table with 4 columns. The first one is the ID, which is an integer. The second one is a string, the name. Joined on would be a timestamp when the customer joined, and the balance is a float, is how much is the customer's balance. So in order to create this table, I need to run the Jethro client, but I can provide the file, the DDL, sorry. And now the table is created. So now if I log in to the Jethro client again, and I run show tables, I can see that table. But this table doesn't have data yet, so the next thing would be to load some data into it. In order to load the data, we need two things. We need the raw data, which is supposed to be a CSV in CSV format. We also need the description file. So the description file looks like this. It's going to tell us the table name, the field delimiter. In this case, we're going to use the pipe, and the list of columns, ID, name, join on, and balance. In the case of joined on, we also need to specify the format because that's timestamp. So the format would be year, month, and day. And then we can look at the raw data, which is in a CSV. That looks like this. So we have the column separated by a pipe. We have the ID on the first one, the name, the joined on, and the balance. So now we are going to use the Jethro loader in order to load that data. So we're going to specify Jethro loader, the name of the instance, which is demo, the description file, and then the CSV file. And we're going to run it. We have an error here. Let's look at the description file. Yeah, there is a missing comma here at the end of this one. Let's try to run it again. Now it finished successfully. We can look at the report file. And as you can see, it loaded 6 records, did not reject any records. So the table before had 0 rows, and now it has 6 rows. Now we can connect again to the Jethro client, and we can run select star from customers. And here we can see the data. So to conclude, what we did here, we loaded an instance from a Jethro query node AMI. This instance already had Jethro installed. We used the ephemeral disk for storage. We upgraded to the latest Jethro version. We created a Jethro instance. We loaded a table, and we connected through the Jethro client and ran a query on the data loaded.